Joining me now, Wyoming's Republican Governor, Matt Mead. He joins me on Skype, by the way. Governor, thanks for coming on this morning.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on, Chuck.
I appreciate it. So let me just start with the issue of coal and how important it is to Wyoming's economy. Without it, how much of a part of it, the economy, do you attribute? Could you balance your budget without revenue from coal?
Well, we're a conservative state. We would continue to balance our budget, but certainly it would be hugely detrimental to our state to have coal reduced. But I think the broader question, Chuck, is, as I've said, certainly it'll hurt the state of Wyoming, but the question is, how's it going to hurt the country? And coal is about 40% responsible for about 40% of electricity in this country. It's an affordable source of energy, and it helps keep us competitive. And so the question is, when you put a target on coal's back, not only how will it hurt Wyoming, but more broadly, the important question, it's going to hurt the country. And so we're fighting for coal with everything we have, both for the state of Wyoming and for the country. We provide coal to about 35 states. So it's critical for the country's future for us to be competitive and to reach that goal of energy independence.
Do you believe the country's reliance on coal should be reduced over time? I mean, obviously, look, you have parochial interests in Wyoming, and I get it. But big picture, considering the data that's out there and the science that's out there about coal versus other forms of energy, do you think over time the country should look at reducing its dependence on coal?
I think that the way that it should work is we ought to look at the market. One of the other things that is not recognized in Wyoming is we can be a leader in renewables as well. In fact, we're getting ready to put up one of the world's largest wind farms in Wyoming. I think there ought to be a competitive. I think it ought to be market-based. But I think what they're doing now is trying to target coal with rules and regulations rather than suggesting innovation and technology. And that's what Wyoming's doing, is saying, hey, listen, we have a vested interest in this, and we're going to look at innovation and technology. We didn't make changes. We didn't get the light bulb because rules and regulations on candles. And that's what's happening here, is rather than recognizing it's a very valuable energy source and let's work to improve it, they're by rules and regulations trying to kill it.
Well, but let me actually challenge you on that point. Rules and regulations by the government have created innovation in the past. Sometimes it's reluctant innovation, but it's created innovation, and then suddenly there is more efforts being made, perhaps, if there is such thing as a cleaner coal.
Well, the issue is the technology is not going to come in some sort of abstract environment. Coal companies and who rely on coal have to know that there's a future for coal. Otherwise, the technology is not going to come there. And when there's not just the recent rules, but layer upon layer of rules and regulations that seem to just target coal, the future doesn't look as bright. And so it's not that we're saying there shouldn't be rules and regulations, but there should be a balance there that will provide an environment where innovation and technology can thrive, where people are going to invest in coal rather than walking away from it because it looks like it's trying to be killed.
Well, let me ask you this, though. What's a bigger threat to the coal industry, the federal government or fracking?
Well, I don't think fracking's a threat to the coal industry. We're 3 or 4 in natural gas, number 8 in oil. We have to have fracking for energy independence. Well, like I said, I think the market will allow those to compete. I think the bigger threat, to answer your question directly, to coal is not fracking, it's not natural gas, it's not oil, it's not renewables. It is unreasonable rules and regulations.
Is there, I guess, let me go back to the question, you sort of ducked it before, you didn't really answer it, which is, do you think that we should have a goal of reducing our dependence on coal?
No, I don't think we ought to have a goal of reducing our dependence on coal. I think the goal should be energy independence, and how do we do that in a way that is clean, innovative, and look at all energy sources. The fact is there's 1.3 billion people in this world who are energy poverty. It is very premature to start taking energy sources off the table. In fact, coal is the fastest growing energy source globally, and this is one of the few countries that's looking to change that. And if you take away all Wyoming coal, that's still going to be the case. It's still going to be the fastest growing energy source. And so my answer remains the same. I don't think it ought to be taken off the table. I don't think it ought to be removed. And I don't think it ought to be reduced. I think we ought to look at innovation technology and make it as efficient.
But I guess what I would say is, how do you incentivize the innovation? If you do believe there is a technical way to make coal cleaner, to burn coal cleaner, how do you basically force that innovation without some sort of rules of the road that demand it?
Well, I think you look at what the state of Wyoming is doing. We're taking leadership in this. We just got a lot of money through the legislature last time to just look at an innovation prize for coal technology, looking at the slipstream that comes off coal-fired plants, and rather than having that as a liability, use it as feedstock for chemicals, for food stock. These are the things that we can do, and this is the sort of thing that Wyoming is doing. The University of Wyoming, we've put about $50 million in recent years for innovation and technology. These are things that can be done and that we are doing. And as you look at what the federal government has spent on renewables versus on CO2 research, it's a skewed balance there.
All right.
And so what I would encourage is look at the fact that this is the leading producer of electricity in this country and try to find improvements rather than trying to see how quickly you can put it.
Governor Matt Mead, Republican governor from Wyoming. I appreciate you coming on, especially via Skype. Thank you, sir.